I'm sorry. No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
The 2024 election is over, and we've all had a lot of fun mocking the people like the woman that you just saw, who are screaming and melting down over the prospect of a Donald Trump victory. Now, while this is a lot of fun, the more of these that I see, and the more I'm on X seeing people claiming that the election was falsely called for Trump, it was fraudulent. The Democrats are refusing to admit defeat. Now, while Kamala has conceded, of course, the Democrats en masse are screaming that their rights are over, their lives are over. And it makes me think, where does this come from? Now, of course, the obvious answer is the legacy media. They are the ones propagating these ideas. They are the ones making critical race theory and critical gender theory and transing the kids all socially acceptable. The media has brought these people into such a frenzy that many of them truly believe that they will no longer have rights. They will be subjugated by Donald Trump. Many of them believe this, and it's not just Gen Z or millennials. There's also the odd middle-ager right now who feels like this is their time to shine. This is their time to be something special. It's like a midlife crisis. But the media have become experts at this. They know that anger gets more views and more clicks than just simple agreement. So what do? Well, they whip you into a frenzy with many conditional statements and anonymous sources. And then, when they're bare-assed in front of everyone, they say, well, we never said that. We didn't do that. I'm going to give you an example right here. This is MSNBC prior to the election. This was during Trump's Madison Square Garden rally, where they literally play footage of a Nazi rally and compare the two. And they call Trump a fascist dictator in this clip. Take a look.
Now, you see it there on your screen. In that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners.
Now, of course, not to be outdone, CNN, just after the election, just after Trump was very evidently going to win the race. It hadn't quite been called yet. Here's Van Jones saying, oh, it was never the media. It was always Republicans that called Trump a Nazi. Besides the absolute ridiculousness of this claim, the fact that he has the stones to sit and say this seriously to his co-hosts is one of the most despicable things I've ever seen. Look at this.
Most important to remember is the people who said that he was a Hitler lover weren't Democrats. They were Republicans. People who said that he was a fascist weren't Democrats. They were Republicans who worked for him. And so it's not just these elite Democrats over here, poisoning the well. You had a pretty broad consensus from Chomsky to the Cheneys, that was very, very concerned and remains concerned. And so I think it's not just on us to stop calling names. I think it's up to him to, as Allison said, with deeds show that he's not going to be those things.
Oh, really, Van? Oh, really? Is that what it was? Because America seems to think otherwise. The American backlash to the legacy media shaming us, calling us Nazis, calling us garbage, telling us that we are horrible people, we are racists, we are sexists, we don't care about our wives and daughters. I have been told that I don't care about my daughter and I'm a terrible father because I voted for Trump. You're telling me that all of that comes from Republicans? Because it doesn't. It doesn't. But, of course, the media being caught in a manipulative lie like this doesn't mean anything to them. Here is MSNBC, that same beautiful network. This is Joe Scarborough telling you that misinformation is why Trump won the presidency. Here you go.
Obviously, there's a lot of questions that's going to be asked and looked into and really legitimate reasons to look within, for sure.
Right.
At the same time, the landscape is a sea of voices and websites and places to go for information that is simply not true, and then is backed up again and again and again and again until it becomes narrative.
You fight on the battlefield that is before you. And so if there is disinformation on the battlefield that is before you, you can run off of that battlefield screeching and crying with your arms thrown up in the air, or you can figure out how to engage in that battlefield and win. It's that simple. And I understand there is a ton of disinformation out there, and it is sickening. I understand that. I also understand the disinformation will only be worse 4 years from now. So the question is, what will Democrats, or what will independents, or what will Republicans who don't support an authoritarian version of government, what are they going to do right now instead of complaining? Because complaining doesn't get their...
Oh, really? Things that aren't true, repeated again and again and again until they're accepted as fact. Do you know what that sounds like? That sounds like Trump called Nazis very fine people. That sounds like Trump wanted to put Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad. That sounds like Trump is going to use the military on the American people. That sounds like Trump is going to be a dictator on day one, and that sounds like Russians meddled in the election in 2016. All of those are lies that were propagated by the media. These two same networks are the most guilty of them all. CNN and MSNBC. Absolute garbage. These networks are guilty of making these people feel as though their lives are over. These networks are guilty of the divide in America. All of these networks are guilty of making this country what it is today through the lens of the extreme division that we see. These networks are the enemy of the people. And I hope that more and more people start to see this. That's about all.